tapping noise. Hear that? Oh, it's coming from the headphones. Okay, I'm not typing that. Huh? Doesn't sound like something he'd say. Okay, so Fox News has a story. That would be probably a really, really, really good cognitive assessment. What people think of that. Is there some sort of FISA memo? I'm thinking there's not a FISA memo. That's what I'm thinking. Already went over some of the absolutely disgusting, repulsive, offensive things that a person's wife said to me right in front of people. It's sort of like, I think that she thought that that was gonna like upset me and make me like jealous or something, and it doesn't. It's totally like, my God, I dodged a bullet here. These people are repulsively disgusting lowlifes. I don't know if this has something to do with the years of drug use or what this is, but it's like, oh my God, it's just, I know I'm mean, and then people get mad at me, but it's like, oh my God, drag yourself out of the friggin' gutter. Please, please take the lifeline to get the hell out of there, because it's so gross. Just that, not to sound sexist, but even that a woman would talk like that. And it shows just how disconnected they are from actual romance and relations and good relations. When you actually love someone, you would never even be talking like that about them. It's just, it's so disgusting. And again, it sort of like touches on just how bad some people's sex lives are. It's just, I don't even think it really, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't even think it really degraded me, but degraded them. It's like just so, ugh, just so disgusting. Even in like the rappiest of rap songs, men don't talk like that in their songs. And just for like two women to supposedly be having a conversation like that, it's just such gutter trash. I'm not a asexual virgin. I'm actually pretty versed in sexual relations, and that to me is just like I've been with men. I mean, I'm mostly with men. I like men. I'm straight. I'm attracted to men. Um, the best encounters I've had have been with men. And I don't even know what this woman was friggin' talking about. It sounds just so nasty, disgusting to me. Um, I get what they're talking about in this memo thing, and I don't. That's not even what she was saying. She was talking about something else that almost sounds like someone being digitally raped by just an offender who doesn't even know what they're doing sexually. It's just like so disgusting. Um, So I'm glad. I'm glad that she supposedly couldn't, whatever those words, I'm not even going to repeat them again because it's so disgusting that a person talks like that. Like, even when I told a friend of mine verbatim what she was saying, my friend is like, I don't want to hear this because it's so disgusting that a person would even talk like that. You don't talk like that to people. Um, First of all, people would say digital penetration or something. They wouldn't even say the words that she used. And again, just the fact that they'd even be discussing that with each other is creepy and disgusting. With To me, it's like two sexual offenders like trading stories or something. Um, I want to completely remove that woman from my mind, even in that context, and I pretty much have, to be honest with you. I don't have any sort of recall of those events. It's just something in my life that I want to forget. It's not something I'd ever want to retain in my mind. Um, so, especially the first time, it's almost like I think her wife doesn't get that the first time I felt that I was actually violated by this person, it wasn't a loving, mutual encounter. Um, I don't think she's capable of that. And clearly, I mean, even them talking to each other like that is like they're offending each other and degrading women and degrading themselves and degrading homosexuality. It's just completely nasty, gross. Um, anyway, I guess some people might say, why wouldn't you just be with a man at that point? Some of the things that she's talking about. Um, but anyway, I don't care about that. I'm not. It's homosexual women's sexual encounters are not really of an interest like that to me. I don't care about that. I also don't think that those two people are homosexual. But anyway, I don't want to hear about that, and I don't care. I mean, clearly that's all their relationships are with people is sex, the way that they talk. Um, you gotta be like phenomenal. You gotta be like, 2010 and the person is still talking about it 8 years later and not even giving that much detail. Because when you start talking like that, you're just completely degrading what even happened. And you're basically offending the person. That is what sexual offenders do. It's like you're a rapist or whatever. You're only having relationships with someone, and then it's like in your mind they're lesser to you because you've like violated them and not you had any caring or love for them. And it's like even in like one nighters, I don't even think people are talking like that and having that type of it's completely offensive to women. It completely offensive to women. Hopefully men, anyone that heard it was probably like, this chick is so off the wall, like what the hell is she talking about? So anyway, it sounds like sort of like learned behavior. Maybe there was abuse going on in the households, and that was sort of like a conversation discussion to continue to abuse the people that they sexually abused, like a sadist. Um, Whatever her upbringing is, it sounds like there was probably some of that going on, because why would she keep presenting to me like that she's doing that? Um, like that was done to her, because that's, we would hope that's a learned behavior and not something that she's just doing. Um, so, anyways, I don't really view people like that, I guess. Even the people that I had, things that I wouldn't do again, but it's like, even some of these, like, people that I met along the way and stuff, I wouldn't even, like, talk about them like that. It's just, that's, and you're talking about women that are supposedly having these relationships with other women and telling them they love them and stuff, and even marrying them, and they're talking like that. It's just really horrible. But that's part of the reason why I've tried to explain to women why men don't open up to you. Um, I think that women do it much more than men do. That's my opinion. The offensive things, and like, they're never gonna have a guy who is like singing these Kid Rock songs about them. They're never gonna have that because of the way that they are, and I'm sure that that's very obvious and comes through to the people that they're with and they're with sexually. That the people know that it's just they're like most people would consider just disgusting, abusive men going around having sex with people and then talking about them like that, and talking about other people to each other like that. Um, because I don't know if it's true. I mentioned this, that they are. I was also told that the two of them were discussing me again at another time within the dorm. When I'm in the shelter, I just sit and hear them, but I'm in the shelter at the same time, and they're having this conversation with each other like they're two sexual offenders. Um, so, in terms of that, I guess I'd probably classify it, just sort of like write it off as that and forget about it. Um, People do get victimized and they move on, and they go on and they live lives, and it's like not really affecting them anymore. Um, I haven't even had another relationship, and I'm like over it. I think that I was more disappointed in a healthy way over the skipped lunch. Like, I wasn't like crying or like, oh my god, nobody's ever gonna like me, that stuff you do when you're kind of in a depression and you're like way overblow a rejection. I think I was more disappointed in that than I was in the entire breakup with her. I think I took the entire breakup with her sort of like more of an offense on me or something, because I think I knew that I was being victimized by a sexual offender and I wasn't in an actual relationship. Um, I think that's where a lot of the emotion was coming from, that I felt like violated by her. Um, I think the second time it wasn't as upsetting because I wasn't as emotionally involved. Because I knew that she was just a sexual offender, and like, I don't it didn't bother me as much. It's not like I went another 6 years celibate or something, and like and I guess I do kind of view it differently, that it wasn't a man, because it's still kind of like in a sense I'm still celibate, because I sleep with men. I'm straight. I only want to have a relationship with a man, and so I kind of view it differently, that I still haven't been like with a man since 2010. Um, so I do sort of view it differently, because as a straight person, I mean, that's not the only sex act that straight people do in terms of intercourse, but it's like, it's different. It's a different, like, to a straight man, not to get into crudities, you never want someone to be with someone else, but to a straight man, it's going to be a lot different. Like, there was some sort of a screw up, and it's like, it's some woman who turned out to be a friggin' manipulating sexual offender, and it has a history of doing this stuff to people. And him and I weren't actually like together at the time, and obviously there was no intercourse, and there was no oral on someone else's penis, and that does, I think, matter to men. I really do, as opposed to another guy. And whereas I think women, it would be the opposite. Like, say that you're a homosexual woman, and your person goes out and has sex with men. I think that's actually more hurtful and more destructive than if they were having a relationship with another woman. Because you're basically telling this person that you never really liked her hoo-ha in the first place. Um, so I think that's pretty much what her wife did to her. Whether or not that's karma or not, she doesn't seem to care because she never cared about her. I mean, she doesn't care if you sleep with their best friend as long as you don't lie about it. So that's her philosophy on life. She really doesn't give a crap about this person, and she doesn't care who she sleeps with. Um, so, or she's just so friggin' disgusting that the two of them are kind of like, well, we just sleep with men, and it's not the same. It's not the same type of connection where we abuse each other and scream and yell at each other in public, and all of that stuff. She can't really say that about her because she was with another woman. And not only she was with another woman, but she was with the woman she was with before her. So she's basically negating her entire relationship with her. Like, she was thinking about me the entire time she was with her. So it's like the two of them are just equally vilely abusive to each other. And it goes like there's no boundary to it from what I could see. When you actually love a person, you don't do that. There's always a boundary. Even people that are fucked up, quote unquote fucked up, there's a boundary. There's certain lines you don't cross, and these two like just try to create more and more new lines to hurt each other. And I think that the two of them, no matter who they're in a relationship with, they'll probably do the same thing until they get some help and enter recovery. But anyway, that was like one of the big factors of how I could tell that it wasn't the person I was looking for. Because even in all of my writings, whether or not this person in my mind exists somehow, where we're having some sort of a soul connection, even when we're not together, we were like together in other cycles, if you want to get into like mysticism and stuff, um, or it's just my idea of a person, and that's going to be who my person is, my idea of a person, because that's who I'll seek out and want to be with, is that he wouldn't do that to me. He would never do those types of sadist acts to me that were done. So it's like a good way to be like, that's not my person because we already went over this, and he would never do that. Um, so I would think even if it means that the person knows that they're ill and maybe they've had these other bad things happen, that they wouldn't even date you because they know that they don't want to risk it. They don't want to risk screwing up and doing that to you, and then you have that bad, not to use the word karma, but you have that bad emotion attached to it into your next cycles, because I think things like that you don't forget. You really don't forget emotional things like that in your other cycles. I truly believe that, because if you can remember people in a positive sense, I think you're going to remember that you had this person, and then it was like, wait a minute, and you're not going to have that same connection anymore because it was already damaged. I think that that can carry over into other cycles. And so that's why I'm sort of like hinting to people to be careful what they're doing, because I do think if you screw that up, that it's gonna carry over into other cycles. This is gonna be some sort of a block going on there. Um, so that's just something to think about if you really want to have this certain awesome union with someone that just give it a rest for the rest of the cycle or something, and just know that in another time that you'll maintain that, and you haven't destroyed it. Um, I would think that sometimes if you say that just don't let me hurt this person or come in contact with the person, if something bad's going to happen, and that if I'll just see them in another cycle rather than harming that bond that we have, I would think that that would happen, that you just wouldn't meet the person that cycle. Um, so that's that. I think it's really good. And yeah, some people might say that it's a mind trick to get over people or whatever, but I don't think it's just that. I think it's actually the truth. I think that that's how things help you recover, because you know it's the truth and it sounds like the truth. That there's not really a reason to be that upset about these people, because it's not people that you were meant to be with. Um, I don't think that God would be that cruel that you'd actually have a quote unquote one, like a person, like some people call a soulmate, or someone that you're with a lot of times in different cycles that you repeatedly have a connection with because it's just something about the two of you. I don't think that Almighty God would have you meet that person and have it go down, and it's just this horrific ball of hurtful flames like happened with that person at the shelter. I don't think God would do that. Um, there's some other reason why that happened, and it's not because that's a person I'm supposed to be with. Um, I don't think I ever had any type of a connection with her before. No, I don't think we ever met before, to be honest with you. Um, I just think it's some new person that I never was in contact with positively anyway. I think that as I explained, I think there was other cycles where it was the same type of thing where this person was just horrifically abusive to me, um, and not someone that that at least so far, I shouldn't say ever, ever is a long time in terms of like just basic human, compassion, hello, hi, you friendship type of thing. But I don't think ever we in any of our cycles have we ever had like a loving relationship with each other, because there's no way that all that stuff would have happened had we had one before. Um, I think that's why some people meet and they just click, and it's usually it's just platonically, like a friend that you click, and it's like that's just a friend that there's certain things you're not going to do and say, um, that type of thing. I don't even think that we had that. I mean, I think it's sort of like because it's sort of the end of all of these, the end of the government and all of that, that some of these people are meeting me, excuse me, because they've never had actual teaching before. And they've had cycles that have just been really, really like they're young. And so that's why they're meeting someone this old, and this someone that's that versed in what people used to call Buddhism and Eastern philosophy. I think that's why they're meeting me. Unfortunately for me, I think I'm meeting those types of people more than people that I've actually known before and had a bond with. I'm not saying I haven't met any of those people, but I think it's mostly I'm meeting people that sort of need like a little bit of a wake up call, and a little bit of knowledge about the actual truth and not what they were taught in these doctrines at churches. Excuse me, I'm tired. Had a wicked, wicked late flight last night, so I definitely need to get a couple of good nights sleep, and then I'll be fine. Get back to my walks. Obviously, I did a shit ton of walking around in Orlando, but that was only a couple of days. But it was nice to get back into that and carrying like 30 pounds, maybe 25 pounds. You'd be surprised how heavy. 25 to 30 pounds feels when you're carrying it around all day and most of the night for 3 days straight. You'd be surprised how heavy that starts to feel. Like by the time I got back to the airport to come back here, and yes, I know I shouldn't have flown. I know all about it, okay? Um, I was actually worried it was going to be overweight and you can go up to 50 pounds. It was only 19 and a half pounds. So I'm like, yeah, that's from carry. I remember that summer of 2016, I was carrying my stuff around for 4 months. But I also was like a complete ball of muscle. I was actually in a little bit better shape then than I am now. There's some things I think on that I like about my physique better now, but it was like I was definitely a complete ball of muscle then. And rather than getting like compliments and stuff from a sexual offender, it was like just negative things, just like her wife does. And it's like, that's a sickness. Like, you know what I mean? You're sick. That's a sickness. Why are you even hanging around me? First of all, you're clearly filled with envy. And if you weren't filled with envy, like, why would you even be around me? Why would you even comment or say anything? When I don't envy someone, I don't say anything about their looks. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't even notice you. I certainly don't date you and then start talking all this bad shit about your physique. I mean, that type of thing is so obvious. It's like you got to be a little bit lower on the cognitive scale to not understand how transparent you are. Um, I actually don't envy anyone because it's just I'm so well within myself that I don't envy anyone. But some I had once in a while I'll make a comment on someone's looks, and it's usually because they're mean to other people, or it's kind of like they do need some sort of a reality check because like this stuff with the Kim Kardashian, it's like that's not attractive. And she's altered things about herself, and she has a body dysmorphic, and she's a complete and total narcissist. So it's like she sort of needs to be told that, and it's not like I think part of the reason that she annoys so many people is because she's offending people. That's a sexual offender too. When you keep flashing your nakedness at us, people don't like it and they get annoyed, and so they're kind of trying to tell her that she's not that good looking, which isn't really going to help, I suppose, because Fat John's not good looking either, and he does it. So it's more of offending you rather than they even think they're attractive. Um, Sometimes it's difficult not to sort of like make comments back when people say something. Like, I'm a straight woman, so I don't. I'm not sure how being two tone is actually sort of like a negative thing. I'm not getting that. And I'm not understanding how that's connected to thinking that someone's a man. Um, I'm not really making that connection with, but when people are irrational and they have problems with their thoughts and their ideas, it sometimes doesn't make any sense. It's kind of just throwing out the kitchen, your kitchen sinking someone is what I call it, where you're just like throwing out all this stuff and it's just like doesn't even make any sense. Sometimes I say kitchen sinking it when you're like falling into some of your like dysfunctional thinking patterns, which some of them are funny. When you say something's dysfunctional, it's not always like you're saying someone's like, you know, mentally ill. It's just kind of like funny thought things that drunks do. And that's one of the ones they do. They kitchen sink, and some people call it like all or nothing thinking, a piling on. Um, that's what I mean by kitchen sinking it. And for me, it's usually negative stuff about myself. Well, where I could, if I wanted to, spiral into a negative thinking pattern about myself and kitchen sink it, and just like everything, just throwing everything out there. Um, Sometimes people do that when they end relationships, where they just kitchen sink it, and they're just like, anything and everything that they can think of, they start screaming at you. And usually it starts being like it's not even you, they're projecting, they're transferring stuff onto you. But no, I'm not gonna say that. um I'm not gonna say that, but I guess I could say no. I don't want to do that because I'm already like trying to remove anything from my mind that might steal. I don't even want to call it up. I don't even want to indicate to anybody else that I might end up being with anything, anything in that context. So I'm not even going to speak what I was just thinking, but I'm sure eventually someday we'll hear all this stuff about her boyfriends too, but she's going to need to do that in order to clear out and run all her inventory, and hopefully she'll do it in written form in a journal or something. And someone might read it, but the men don't have to read it if they don't want to. But I'm sure that she'll run her inventory just like we all do, and go through all of that and clear all that stuff out. After you've been sober for an entire year, you'd be surprised what starts coming out of your mouth in your writing. So that's why it's always good to write it rather than actually go up to people's faces and say it. It's always better to write it down. And it takes a year before that starts happening. Um, it's not you go into a detox for 2 weeks and now you're cured of some addiction. Um, you have to vent out all that stuff, because if you don't, you're just gonna use again. Because as soon as you start to feel like you're gonna start saying stuff you're gonna use, because you're gonna be the cool person or the nice person or the one who doesn't run their mouth or the one who keeps secrets, and or the one who stays civil in all of these relationships that you probably half of them didn't even want to be in. Those are the people that keep using, people that talk like that. It's really evident people that are in recovery and people that aren't, because of their entire attitude and their speech patterns and the way that they talk. Um, and usually you're sort of like sitting around in a platonic friendship circle talking about the last time you had any. You know what I mean? It's not you're with someone and you're like talking about someone particular in their sex. Like you're just sort of like a single person without all that stuff in your mind from your past encounters, and you're just talking about how you haven't gotten laid or whatever, or you're cracking dirty jokes or whatnot, or like different things about sex, but you're not really talking about specific people in a sexual way. A lot of that's like inventory, and yeah, this all kind of just happened again in what, August, September. I think, yeah, September. I think is when this all ended. It was sometime before Thanksgiving is when this all ended, and I didn't have as much inventory, but there's a little bit of it to sort and get rid of. Um, I know I couldn't even remember. So obviously I'm not thinking about it. Like last time it took me like 6 months. It was like every fucking day. That's all I was talking about. I would try to start talking about something else, and then I'd go into talking about that. And now it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm just not, unless I'm just like in a complete sitting posture and I'm just talking. It's just like I'm talking about anything else. Because it's just, okay, what's in my brain and how does this, when you read something, it relates to this, that, and the other. It's not the same as it was before. I mean, praise Allah that it's not. Um, I myself, I'm still sort of hooked on Andrew. I haven't been doing a lot of meditation, but he's still my favorite person to sort of have my meditation. Um, I don't want to get into too much about other people because it messes up my meditation, but it's not that I couldn't with other person, but I just, because that I met that person in real life and we didn't even have lunch or whatever, there's no, it's not a reason for me to get into doing that because I don't want to mess up my other meditation that I have with Andrew. I mean, it may sound weird to hear someone talking like that, but I'm just explaining to you at least how my mind works. And I have to have just one person. I can't have all these different people that I just call up like a Rolodex. It has to be one person because that's just how I am. I don't just have random meditations. I have to have like an emotional connection to the person. Um, so I explained it to my therapist how it works, and that's why I don't do like cheating. I would never cheat. I just, there's no point of that, and I don't take back cheaters. Um, I don't do that thing where people stay in relationships because of loyalty or time spent or a contract, or they're trying to make it to the silver anniversary, um, things like that. It's kind of like that. It's a sexual relationship, and if you can't have a good sexual relationship, then you're not doing it anymore. um, I'm not into the Pope says you got to and all that stuff. I just don't. No, there's definitely no need of that. um, I guess that's it. It's almost like I wish that we could get like interviews, like how Fox News and stuff used to do like those voting panels, and they'd show like a debate, and it's like the approval, and they ask the people what they thought of it. I wish they would actually do that with some of these. Maybe they are because I don't have access to a TV really. Maybe tomorrow during the day, but it's like if they did one of those with one of these like FICA memos and stuff. FISA, sorry, FICA is more of a familiar word to me. Um, FISA memos and just see what people say about it. It's kind of like I would just be like, so if you're a reporter, try to keep your eyelids somewhere. Act like you're Asian while you're doing these, because if you think in your mind that you're being Asian while you're doing these, you'll probably be regularized because you're gonna be like, okay, okay, um, all right, yeah. I mean, like, you're not getting that this is a friggin' joke. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like if you do this, then you'll probably be regularized. Um, oh, I guess that's that on that one. Are they going to compete with us weekly now for topics discussed and funny things? Uh, in speech, it's in video, it's a little bit different than writing things, especially when you don't know who your audience is. um, I think on Twitter, like when I was really doing a lot of Twittering, then I would occasionally be like, please, if you're a minor, please don't read this. Please don't follow this timeline if you're a minor, because I'm an adult single woman and I'm raunchy, and I don't want to be like I'm grooming people or whatever. I don't want to be like saying this stuff no, around children because I don't know who's actually reading this. Um, some of the stuff, it depends on the age. I'm not talking about children, but like young people, it depends because it's kind of like fat jokes and stuff that I've sort of explained how to come out of if you have issues with being a sexual offender and improper arousal and stuff, that it's kind of a way to sort of explain how to come out of that into just fat jokes. Like, we're not in a thing where we're like 50 ways to leave your lover. And hey, did you hear about this fisa memo? What do you think of that? And when I was doing this, that, or when I was young and I was doing this or that, because that's how sexual offenders talk. It's like really creepy and disgusting. Um, that's not, it's kind of like, you're laughing at something like someone just farted. Like that was when I saw that, I was like just cracking up and laughing, like, oh my God. And even if somehow you inadvertently, accidentally, like overheard someone saying something about sex or whatever, like it should be funny, like a fat joke, not like you're reading a porn and you're getting aroused, because that's not appropriate. That's like it's like an animal biological response that I think that humans sort of grow out of, and that all of your arousal is based on love, and especially if we're doing these repetitive cycles, and you're running into people that you've met before and you were in love before, I think we're gonna sort of get away from the animalistic type of thing, other than you have that in your genetics. But for me, I think it should only be popping up with the person that you've already had that love connection with. That to me makes sense in terms of evolution, and not just randomly getting these biological responses from watching animals mating and things. Um, Went over that that's how people groom, and then it completely screws up people's heads, because it can screw up your sexuality, and you become aroused at things you shouldn't be, or you're aroused at the wrong emotions, you're aroused at too many people, you think you're disgusting because you thought that you partook in being abused, because you had some sort of arousal or whatever, because you were groomed with these techniques that I just explained, that cause like a biological response that's not, you're actually sexually attracted to the person or what's going on. So things like that. I mean, that's I guess all I'm going to say about that. But this one is like, I love when it's so obvious, and then it's kind of like, okay, world people, okay, what do you think of that? All right, so people aren't crazy anymore. Okay, and we're going to Exodus. We're going to Exodus 20, or we're all in a group, adolescent funny, but we continue to keep people slaves and continue to not give them a place to sleep, and continue to trespass them for sitting somewhere in a safe lighted area, and we continue to charge them for food, and we continue to hurt other people or do quote unquote criminal activities. We continue to look down at people who don't have, as big of a house as you do. We continue to deny SSDI and food stamps, um, and medical care, and say you need an insurance card, like that type of thing. If you're getting the funnies, then what do you think of that? What's going on? Okay, that's what's really, really good about those, and I like it when they're super duper obvious.